Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I don't normally film on a Monday, it's Monday morning, and I decided I should water my cymbidiums today, and I haven't got enough water. I'd only get through half of them. So I put the RO unit on, and this is a sort of sciencey chat that anybody who has these answers genuine, not look it up like I just did, I mean actually knows because it's in their field of knowledge or work environment or whatever, then please help out because this is important. And it's to do with my Disas. Now, I've met 3 people in the Devon Orchid Society that grow them successfully. My friend, who got some at Burnham's the same time I did, is also growing them successfully, as does the guy down in Cornwall where I got mine from. He doesn't actually go to Cornwall, I met him much closer to here basically. So what's the problem then? Why won't mine grow as well as these other people's? There must be a fundamental difference, and a viewer in a comment, although didn't directly address the problem, kicked this into gear, and I think I've identified the problem. But I'm going to need some help to sort of verify my theory, what I have. Which is thin at one end, fat in the middle and thin at the other end, and that'll test your flipping knowledge. Where does that come from then? Anyway, I've been standing my Disas in water as instructed by many people. Yep, they all do it, including my friend whose Disas apparently are growing like mad. He stands his in water. So what am I doing that's different? Well, it's relatively obvious if you stop and think. It's the water. Mine's RO water. All of those other people are using rainwater. And 2 of them have a water flow system. So when it actually rains, rain comes in off their greenhouse roof, into the end of their container tray where they stand their Disas in. So they're standing them in water like I do, but when it rains, water comes in one end and overflows out the other end and refreshes it. What's special about rainwater that is probably not in RO water to any great degree? It's oxygen, isn't it? Rainwater, certainly while it's falling and when it lands, is highly oxygenated. Where do Disas grow? On the side of a mountain, with their feet standing in water. This is where we get the standing in water bit. But what is that water? That water is flowing. Where's it just come from? Up the mountain somewhere. What made it flow? It's been raining again, hasn't it? So that water tumbling down those mountains over the rocks and everything like that is highly oxygenated. And there I think lies the problem. My RO water has probably not got a huge amount of oxygen in it. Right, so now we backtrack and we go to tap water. Now obviously tap water in different countries varies, but in this country they do make sure there is an amount of oxygen in it because apparently it tastes better. I wouldn't know, I don't drink the stuff. I've seen what fish do in it. I add coffee to make it taste nice. But yeah, there may be some in the tap water. I don't know whether any oxygen gets added to it going through the RO unit, because obviously aeration, you know, bubbling and dribbling over stuff and there is some oxygen added when the water is moving through air. And the only bit I can see is the water runs out of the RO unit and drips in the bucket. But it's a tiny little flow. It's not like a gush. So I can't see that much oxygen would get added in. And then it's stored. And apparently water loses some of its extra oxygen. There's something called, who was it? Something like Henry's Law or something, where the gases and the water balance out over time. There is an evening out that goes on. I don't need to know that bit. I just happened to read it while I was looking stuff up. So what do you think? Do you think the problem is that my water lacks oxygen because it's still and it sits there for 6 or 7 days? Which means this Henry's Law thing would be operating in my trays. So the water and the air above the water would be balancing itself out. So any extra oxygen that might have been in the water is going to be lost to the air as it balances itself out. So therein lies the problem, I believe. It's the thing that is different. That's the way to analyse why your particular orchids in some shape or form are not growing as well as other people's might be. You have to find the difference, and the difference with mine is the water. I'm not using rainwater. Don't go on about collecting it off the roof, it's filthy. And I can't, with my back and knees and things like that, I can't be doing with getting up onto this roof to keep it clean, and the gutters and the rain barrel, which would have to be totally cleaned and disinfected to actually have a rain barrel with rainwater in it. I can't be doing with it. Now my friend, whose Disas are growing really well, I've seen his water system. He collects water into a rain barrel that overflows into the next one, into the next one, into the next one. So when it's raining, there's an overflow mechanism going. So on top of the rain being oxygenated, there's aeration going on. So a possible solution, and I'm going to try it, that's why the RO unit's on. Firstly, so that I've got enough to do my Cymbidiums. The Phalaenopsis need doing either today or tomorrow as well. And I'm out of water, so we will refill all our tanks and everything. But when I've got some RO water, that's nice and cold, and it's spotting with rain. Oh, wonderful. I'll get some rainwater in the bucket. But yeah, so what am I going to do then? What I'm going to do is what the guys suggested, is that perhaps do it not for all of them in one go, and if you do a dramatic change like that I could lose the lot. Now I know I can get some more, there are various places, various sources, but apart from one place they're going to cost me money. And I've already spent some money getting some, and I've lost quite a lot. I've lost over half of the variety that I came home with. It's that bad. So we need to do something, don't we? Now just looking at the pots at the moment, there's another pot there that's gone. There's another one there that looks like it's on the way out. Yeah, so it's getting worse. Things are happening. Now there are some that are growing. Not well, but there are some that have got new leaves pushing on and are getting bigger. So it's not a total failure. So what are we going to do to solve the problem? Well, what was suggested was try it with a few pots. Don't actually stand them in water, but water them every day, or very frequently. So you're pouring water through them. And you have to bear in mind with aeration, some oxygen would be added to water. So what about I get 2 containers and pour the water from one to the other a few times to sort of bubble it up a bit, and then use it pouring the water through the pots. Because these certainly have seemed to be a bit better since I did that first of all. When I first suggested perhaps they need a flush, yeah? So they got a good flush, a lot of water poured through the pots. And then again, the next time I changed the water, they seemed to perk up a bit. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try them not standing in water, even though everybody else does. They're not standing them in RO water. They're standing them in rainwater. Now, there isn't much, but there are a few natural nutrients and gases and elements in rainwater that certainly isn't in RO water. I mean, rainwater can have a TDS of 30, 40, 50. My RO water's got a TDS of 7 or 8. It's next to nothing in it. Well, there's somebody at the door. I'll be back. typical. When you change your routines, you completely forget that you've done it. That was Tesco's, my home shop delivery, which I don't normally have on a Monday and I don't normally have in the morning. So I'd completely forgotten. And unfortunately I went charging out there thinking who the hell's that at the gate, and left the camera running. So I've got a big chunk of video to edit out now. Plus I've sort of lost my track as to where I was, so I'm going to hope I pick up in the right place. But the idea then is to take, I'm probably going to take about half the pots and do this, because they're not doing that well. So in theory I've got nothing to lose. If I carry on doing what I'm doing, I'm going to lose more. So what I'm going to do then is they will still live in a tray, because obviously there'll be some water running out of the pots. But probably every second day I'm going to pour water through the pot, so they will get fresh, bubbled up, aerated water through the pots every second day. Now that's going to use a reasonable amount of water, but then I'm using a reasonable amount of more water, just keeping an inch of water in the trays. That uses quite a bit to just keep the trays topped up. If I lose many more pots, I'll be going down from 3 trays to 2 trays, so that will save some water. But yeah, so I'm going to give that a go. We'll see how we get on. I'm not going to demonstrate it because it will happen later today when I've got some RO water. But I will have to sort of think about making sure I remember to try and oxygenate the water a bit before I use it, which could be nothing more than pouring it from one container to another a couple of times, you know, just a high pour through the air and bubbling up in the container, you know, into one of my bowls, and then back in again and do it a couple of times, sort of thing. And we'll see how that goes and see if we get a noticeable improvement, hopefully in a relatively short time, before we lose any more. So anyway, this is filmed Monday morning. I will probably post it tomorrow morning, early, like when I get up at silly o'clock. 3:45 this morning, Mojo got me up. But then I'd been lying awake for over an hour, putting off getting out of bed because I needed a wee. So I knew it was coming one way or the other. I was going to have to get up, but I'm going to blame Mojo, it's his fault. Anyway, so, you know, I've already been up as much as some people's full day. It's not even lunchtime yet. But yes, we're going to give a change of procedures a go. Now, if I had a means of collecting enough rainwater to use for the Disas, then I would, but I have nowhere where I can collect enough. You put out 10 buckets in a rainstorm and you get ½ an inch in each bucket in that rainstorm, you've got 5 inches of water in a bucket. Well, that would only do one watering. It's just not going to happen, so we can't do the rainwater thing. So we will do the next best thing and put lots of fresh water through the pots, so they'll be constantly flushed with clean, hopefully reasonably oxygenated water. Maybe they'll pick up. Can only try, and I'm going to, as I said, I will be doing that for the first time today. I might add it on to the end of this video, depends how long it is already. But whatever, it's going to be posted Tuesday morning. And thanks for watching, and leave your comments and thoughts, knowledgeable thoughts, no guessing. I can do that, I'm good at guessing. I'm also good at looking things up, which I've done, which is why I'm happy to say what I've said. But somebody who's got the actual knowledge about these sorts of things, you know, how much more oxygen do you think would be in water running down the sides of a mountain, gurgling over the rocks and bubbling down through the gullies to where these orchids are actually growing with their feet stood in that water? Is it a significant difference? And my mind says yes, it is. Having also been rainwater not that long before, if you see what I mean. It's not like overflowing lakes or anything like that. The only water that's flowing down the mountain at certain times of year is melting snow, and at other times of year it's been raining again. So it wasn't long ago it was rainwater coming down out of the sky. So I think that water is quite highly oxygenated. And I don't know how much the pH would have changed from when it came down out of the sky to when it gets to where the orchids are actually growing. But bubbling and gurgling over rocks probably would maintain a reasonably high pH. But it is said that Disas prefer an acidic media, but that still doesn't mean they don't prefer nice fresh oxygenated water going through that media. Therein lies the difference of most people that try and grow them, in their grow spaces. It's that moving, highly oxygenated water that is difficult to replicate. But not standing them in what effectively becomes, well, if you think about it, if I change the water from my containers, then I'm topping the trays up with stale water. It's already been in the container a fortnight. So have a think about the various theories and whatever I put forward here, and just sort of say, do you think I should go ahead with the idea on the grounds, my mind says I haven't got much to lose, on the grounds that, I've lost quite a few already and there may be more on the list. So I think it's worth a go, but let's have your opinions. I always ask and see what you think. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.